Welcome to News with a View, a rare Saturday show today, May 16th, 2026. This is episode 72. Decided to do one today because I did run out of time yesterday and I did not have a chance to speak about Powell from the Federal Reserve, chair of the Federal Reserve, has ended his tenure. And the Senate a few days ago confirmed Kevin Warsh, a veteran of the Federal Reserve Board of Governors from 2006 to 2011, as being the new chair. This ends a very, very publicized confrontation between the president and the Federal Reserve Board chair, which is not unprecedented, but what was precedent setting was, I would say, the velocity that the president went after Powell with, to the point of threatening to fire him, which he cannot do. It would really have to stoop to levels that he would never be able, the hurdles would never be able to jump over. And it's, when you have that type of fighting, in a country where trillions are at stake, it makes the world a little jittery. It should not have happened the way it went down, but you knew this was coming. Trump wants to see interest rates go down. And Kevin Warsh is, I would say, hard-nosed when it comes to overregulation of the Federal Reserve. He was part of the Federal Reserve that really saved the banking system in 2008. And 2006 through 2011 was the worst for the banks, for the Federal Reserve, for the government, as far as interest rates and money, and he was not a big proponent of the Federal Reserve buying back notes and doing things, and it was a special term they used for it back then. I kind of forget it now. I should have wrote it down, but I didn't. So he is not freewheeling by any means, but he has certainly aligned himself with a lot of things that the president would like to see. Now, whether or not, he can do that is yet to be seen, but he's got the spot because he said he would try to accommodate the agenda of the president. Now, the Fed chair always was at arm's distance from the president, because you don't want to have undue influence. The economics of the Federal Reserve will be well beyond whatever the president's political lifespan is. So you have to be careful on how you make changes in it. I liked Powell. And there were reasons why I liked him. He was a slow and steady wins the race. Don't switch horses in the middle of a stream. Stick to the plan. So I think Warsh is basically the same mindset, but is willing to tweak here and there and probe to see what happens. We'll see. We'll see. I don't think that you'll see too much going around in the beginning, though what do they say? A new broom sweeps clean. Of course, if the interest rates drop down in the banks, then the money flows out into the stock market. And the stock market's doing, extremely well. On the institutional side, might not be for the individual trader per se. That makes up a very small percentage of market movement. But anytime the interest rates go down in the banks, people take their money out of the banks and go in, to grab the highest return that they can. And institutions are no different than people. So what Trump is trying to do is get the stock market full steam. The problem, and it really hasn't been certainly a major problem, but it does scare people when you have these fluctuations in the stock market. And as it goes up higher, people are looking for a bubble. When do I get in? When do I get out? And of course, the institutions, have the upper hand on that because they could swing the markets all over the place. And you have many retirement accounts in there, pension funds, and you got to be careful. You could wipe out a pension fund. And one wrong step, one wrong move, one wrong, someone gets the wrong advice, or even there's a falseness in the market, a rumor going around that can affect things. Very difficult place to be. But Kevin Warsh is now the new chairperson, and we shall see. We shall see. There's not many out there that you would say, can go out there and do this that has that type of experience. And not only experience, but you have to have the trust of lots of our partner countries out there. And if they don't feel the love, they'll move to gold or they'll move to another standard. And we've seen a lot of that. You've seen a lot of, gold almost double in value since 2024. So it is a place where investors go to because it holds its value for the most part, but and you got to watch out, because you'll take money out of the market, you're taking money out of businesses, and then businesses can't grow, or they have to offer more stocks, which then dilutes the overall net worth. And it's lots of financial mumbo jumbo, hocus pocus, right, Bob, in New York? We know. Boy, do both of us know. All right. So I got to talk about that. I wanted to do that yesterday, but I was in such a rant of the Democrats. I'm going back there right now. And Elizabeth Warren, who I like, getting on her, the senile old lady, is accusing Trump of using $10 billion in IRS money that he's suing them for. And he's, stealing that. And he made it that President Trump has sued the IRS for $10 billion. And there's some type of settlement going on because of how the IRS handled his personal information and how it got out and how it wasn't supposed to. And there is a settlement coming. It's not going to be anywhere near $10 billion. But the question is, should a sitting president be awarded a civil suit while in office, while he's suing another government branch that he ultimately has control over? That's all right to question that. I want questions like that out there. Because the president can't be sued civilly while in office. Wouldn't you think that that can work vice versa? Or versa versa? So I don't offend anyone. It's an interesting place to be. I don't think it's scandalous because it's all been out in the open. He was never trying to hide what he was doing. As a matter of fact, he was out there screaming he was going to do it. And that suit was made before he was president in 2024. So, Elizabeth Warren, the sky is falling, never mentions, and now she's a proponent of banking regulation. She is a big banking regulator, person. And in a matter of fact, I think Trump and her agreed on some things that needed to be fixed. But she's always screaming, and that's okay for the consumer. I'm fine with that. But don't be screaming about the consumers while you're taking our money out of our pockets and throwing it to every nilly-willy group out there and funding, frauds and things like that. But it's all right to be a consumer advocate. Nothing wrong with that. It's actually what the government, these people are elected to do, is to watch over the masses. Make sure that they're not taken advantage of by the government or by private industry. So, but she's a bit over the top. Time for her to go too. Just go out into that sunset and we wave goodbye to you. All right, the other thing, I'm going to try to keep this under 30 minutes, so I got about 15 minutes to go. The other thing, it's interesting what's going on with, the rhetoric on redistricting. Now, the Democrats have lost the redistricting war. They have it. The only thing that is still out there is this going to produce what the Republicans are thinking it's going to produce? But it is going to eliminate many House seats in many states because of the redistricting, lines that should never have been created to begin with. So, and that's from both parties. Both parties. You can't say, oh, it's the Democrats. I would say probably historically, even though gerrymandering was created by a Democrat. Now, it was the Republican Democrat Party of its time in 1812, and which then became the Democrats. But I would say that if you looked at the gerrymandering as it's been done, the Republicans have benefited more from it. Just saying that because facts are facts. Yeah. Figures never lie, but liars always figure. Bob, New York, told me that when my phone dings during my show, that's when I'm lying. I thought that was hilarious. So what you're having now are Democrats trying to figure out in some of the contested states how to stay viable. So what they're doing is like in Nebraska, and I said this the other day, but I really touched upon it. I didn't get much into it, but in Nebraska, Cindy Burbank, who had won the primary for the Democrats, won it, has decided that she is going to put her support for that seat in the House to Dan Osborne, an independent. So if they can get the Democrats to fall behind this independent, their idea is that they will defeat the Republican challenger and keep a seat. The people voted for her. She went out there, she took contributions, she said she was going to run. She said this was her path. And yet, when she wins it that day, she goes, hey, guess what? I'm not going to do this. And I'm going to put my support behind this guy because he's an independent. We might be able to sway him. We got him in there. We have a say to him. And that's not really the right thing to do as far as I'm concerned. If you wanted to not have the election go that way, and you could go, listen, I'm stepping away. So before the voting and everything, but I support this guy because he is the most aligned to the cause of the Democrats. While being an independent, he might have, there are things that we don't agree upon, but he's most aligned with us more than he isn't. And then I'd have some respect for that. But when you do what she did, no. I don't know much about Dan Osborne other than I think he's a veteran and, he's probably a stand-up guy. And as an independent, all right, you do not get a lot of things as an independent because I never know which way the wind is blowing with you. And I like to know exactly where a person aligns to my agenda. That's how I vote. Yeah, it's selfish, but that's what I do. And that's what most people do. I like the guy, I don't like the guy. He said this, so now I can't go down that road. Or she said this. And it sounds very much, again, like the Biden, presto changeo, and Biden turns into Harris after the votes, after contributions, after all the pomp and ceremonies and promises. So, the idea that you do this after the race, I don't put much faith in that. They're doing that in Alaska too, doing the same thing, but not where the person ran and then won and then said, I concede, I'm going to give my support to that other. That didn't happen there. But what the Democrats are doing there is saying we're supporting. We're not running a candidate, but we're supporting this other person. And I wish I wrote the person's name down, but he's some lifelong fisherman or, and whatever. Again, probably a nice guy. I don't know. But, people should, when they go and look at mostly, and I said probably the most powerful people are congressmen. So you have to start looking in other states who's running and, where do they align with me? Because they're going to be voting on an agenda that I might not be happy with. Or I might be happy with. I don't know. So when you start looking around and you want to be an educated voter, and it's very difficult to be an educated voter. It takes time. It takes commitment. But you have to look at the other people that are running and listen to what they're saying. And then, saying, well, okay, now I really do need an opponent of what he's doing to make sure that they win. So my guy counters their guy. And if we get enough guys to counter them, then it doesn't happen. And our guys could get together and get something done because they don't have enough of those people. So really, the House of Representatives needs to be looked at by everyone to go, hey, who's running in California? What do they stand for? And, my guys over here, I got to have, we got to make sure that even some of the connecting states and other states, we get our people in. Very important. DNC knows this, in the GOP and the RNC. They know all this, and they work very hard to get everyone on the same page. The DNC is doing a horrible job of that. I don't know what they're doing. They're floundering in the water. There's not much for them to grab onto. You have, and I said this was going to happen, that you have Democrats that are actually leaving the Democratic Party and switching, either becoming Republicans or independents. And, when a Democrat becomes an independent, the Republicans see an opportunity. When a Republican becomes a Democrat, Democrats see an opportunity. It's just the way it works. It's, not a bad thing. It's just that's the way it works. So in Pennsylvania, you had David Wetsch, he's one of the Supreme Court justices in Pennsylvania, announced that he is leaving the Democratic Party. And he gave the reasons that the hate against Jews that's coming out of Democrats is unacceptable to him, and he must leave that party. And John Fetterman, of course, out of Pennsylvania, senator, said, "Hey, I understand where this guy's coming from, and this should be a warning to the Democrats. But once you say, hey, I don't like Israel, I don't like what they did, I'm pro-Palestine, you're not taking that back. You have crossed over. You have decided to go down a road that you elect to go down. And then you're going to have to feel that road. Starts on your feet, and it ends up on your ass, because that's where you'll end up when you take the wrong road. In 2026, you had Democrats who switched parties, Cyrus Javadi of Oregon and Pierre Piori of South Dakota. Now, those were state seats and things of that nature. I think one of them was Oregon, might have been a rep at the House of Representatives, U.S. But it shows that inside the Democratic Party, there are people that have a real angst with what's going on and saying that's not where we should be going. We can do this and we can go down this road, but we should not be doing what we're doing. And, it's always was the saying of the Democrats for years. You heard, when the Republicans go low, we go high. And now the Democrats are saying, we're going to go low. But low doesn't mean you advocate violence, Jeffries. Your foot soldiers. Your soul crushing. You don't have to get violent or hateful. And I realize you play to your audience. But they're already a captured audience. They're not going anywhere. Your diehard Democrats or your diehard Republicans, not going anywhere. You could say the craziest things ever, and those people are going to be right behind you. But it's the moderates. It is the moderates that you have to look at and go, am I losing the base? Am I losing I realize those other people give me dimes, quarters, and dollars, but my base gives me 10s, 20s, and 50s. And this is true for a lot of them, except for people like Bernie Sanders and AOC, who go to the colleges and they do very well for what they do. They got that whole little shtick down pretty good. You can't say that's a bad thing. They're doing it legally. They're going out there and collecting money. And they're very good at it. Nancy Pelosi was great at getting money. Harris, her last, Joe Biden's last weekend, she had collected $300 million out on the West Coast. I mean, it was a fraud because they already knew that Biden wasn't going to run. And yet they sent her out there on a fool's errand. And she looked very foolish to a lot of people. And they put her in a very bad spot. And the one thing I will say about Harris, she was a good foot soldier. They said, we want you to go out and do this. We want you to say this. We want you to stand up over here. Now you could say this over there. And she did what she was told. So, not too bright, like Walsh. When Harris was running, she had to pick someone that was stupider than her. So they got this idiot, because no one else wanted to go, hey, no, I'm not going to be your lackey. Not going to do it. So, that is what's basically going on in the news today. Lots of speculation on what took place in China with Trump. The president of China said it was productive, whereas, the MSNBCs and MSNs and CNN saying, oh, it was a terrible trip for the president and nothing was accomplished. There was plenty accomplished. And, they're saying Trump is now going to change his stance on Iran's nuclear. Sorry, folks, that ain't happening. And I said yesterday that by Monday we will have attacks against, this weekend it will happen. If there is not a viable peace alternative and concession by the Iranians, Trump is going to go after him. And that's what he was basically in China going, hey, listen, we'll fix the trade stuff and we'll take care of this stuff. And like I said, either China or Russia, it would be more likely China, could step in and tell Iran, we will hold your 1,000 pounds of plutonium. And this way the United States doesn't take it from you, and we'll hold it. And this way Trump can say, I stopped your nuclear capability, yet you still own it over here. And let the dust settle, and let's see what happens. We'll see what happens with that. China did make a comment about, a declining empire versus a rising empire, and don't get caught in that trap in the Greek, where, you're going to fight the young guy and you're the old guy, or the bigger army versus, the toughest army, and there's a new guy on the block. Don't fall into that trap. And that, there's a lot we could do, both of us together, to make the world a much better place. And that was interesting, that, what the president of China did was the same thing that President Obama did when he went into office. Is he said, I'm going to hold out an olive branch. I got spears over here. Don't make no bones about that. But I'm going to hold an olive branch out, and let's try to fix this. Let's, And, they didn't take it, but he offered it. And, he could always then go back and tell people, I offered it to them. So this is what I did. And I think the president of China has done the same thing. And, he knows he doesn't want to spend money unnecessarily on, weaponry. He has no problem doing it. And China has a lot of adversaries that are capable. So they're playing catch up. I think again, Russia and China's weaponry that they've sold, you know, yeah, didn't work the way it was, advertised. Now, I'm not certain if what China sells their out on the open market is anywhere near what they have for themselves. I think it would be foolish to assume that, they're going to sell their top shelf item with every bell and whistle attached to it. And, we get our hands on it, or someone else gets their hands on it. The Russians get a hand on it. Anyone gets their hands on it other than China. Yeah. I don't. I don't say that everything out of China militarily is like going to Harbor Freight and buying something, and you use it 4 times and it breaks, which really isn't the case in Harbor Freight. But you get that people have that opinion, and it's maybe you shouldn't have that opinion. That's all I'm saying. All right, everyone. Be well. Please give to a charity, and if you can, and make sure it's a legit charity. Don't become a victim helping a victim. If you're not interested with that, please, food banks. They need help, and it's immediate, and it's right in the area. You're helping people in your own area that need help, without question and without judgment. They also need money, so you can do that, and you feel good. I did something. Just don't sit there and go, oh yeah, well. Wish someone would have helped them. See someone on the side of the road, with the flat tire, and they're like, they little different. You got to be careful nowadays. You stop and help someone, and you could become a victim real quick. So, but you could always call the state police or the police and say, there's someone disabled on the side of the road. I don't know if they're having problems. You might want to send someone mile marker. And they roll up on them. And they go, you got to call AAA. You got to call this guy. Whatever. Just saying, be careful. Say a prayer. Prayer does work. It does, folks. You just got to be realistic in what you ask for, and then be prepared to see it and accept that answer. All right, everyone. Be well, be good, and I doubt if I'll be on tomorrow, but you never know. You never know. Everyone be well as I fade to